Are you sure? This is white to move and draw in spite of black having advantage of 2 versus 1, and this G pawn has any time to move forward and become a queen. Yes, this is a draw game, but you have to find the right move. So let's go first here, king to e6, and this game will lead to a loose game. Why? g4, king takes f6, g3, king g7. The idea of king g7 is to have the position of stalemate. Imagine the white king is here on h8 and the black queen is on f7. That is stalemate. So that is the idea of white. So g2, f6, queen, and of course king h7 first. This is very critical for black. One wrong move will lead to a draw game. For example, you move the king towards the pawn, and that would be a draw game because f7, of course, queen. How can you stop that one? Queen h2 here. If you will go for a zigzag one, this will be the target or ideal draw position of white. King h7, check, go here, and king h8. If you capture that as rogue. So moving your king is a wrong one. Let's go back. So you don't need to move your king yet. You have to find a queen to c5 targeting this f8. Of course, if the king will go here, queen f8, that's easy one. If king will go anywhere here, g8 or g7, let's say g7, there's a check and white is forced to protect the pawn by blocking the pathway of pass pawn, then king c6. Let's continue. King e6. Of course, the idea to push here. You can just queen d5 and then king e7, queen e4. Same idea. White has to protect and block the pass pawn. King to d7 and so on and so forth. Now let's go back to our original position. So by moving king e6, targeting the f6 pawn will lead to a loose game. So where is the good square for the king? Any of this square may lead to a loose game. For example, here, king c6. So black is now opposing the white king. King d4, and then, of course, king d6. Let's say king e4 and king c5. Eventually, this black king will cut the square of the white king and may capture and attack this white pawn and 2 versus no pawn for this scenario. So let's go back to our original position. So this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong. Let's go king to e4. Also a wrong one because king to e5. Let's say king f3. Same idea like earlier. If we will go here, pawn will be captured and 2 versus no pawn at all. So let's go back. So the only good square for the king is king to d4, opposition diagonal. If, of course, we'll push the pawn, that's easy to attack. King e4, let's say go here, and you only need to do is of course to oppose once again the, you can just go here actually, king f2, king d3, oppose. And how can black attack this white pawn? So let's go back. So king d4, diagonal opposition is the good move. Let's go king a6, luring the white king to follow, and if you follow, that would be a loose game, of course. You don't need to move away from this rule of square. This is very important for you to understand that in order for you to stop this pass pawn, you have to be inside of this rule of square or a square rule. So let's go back. King d4. Let's try to move the king here. King here. King c4. Of course, a push pawn. White king is still in the box or square rule. Let's go king d6, king d4, opposition. King move here. Opposition, 1, 2, 3. King f7, position. Here, opposition. King to h6, king g4, and there's no way for black to go here or here. So if, for example, a7, you may just go here, or king h king h3 to oppose, king g7, king g3. If, for example, you go here first, that would be a sorry loss because, of course, king h6, you have to move away from this one, then king to h5. So you have to wait for the king to land here on h6 before you get on g4. So king to g3 first. Let's just move. It's difficult actually for black to accept that this is a draw game, especially it is 2 versus 1 and this g pawn is anytime to be pushed. But let's try to push. Okay, g4, king to e4, g3. Now this blocking is just here. Capture, king to e5, king takes g3, king takes f5, king f3. You only have to do for this position is to draw the game. To understand the pattern of drawing this kind of principle and theoretically draw or book line draw. If we will continue king e5, oppose, push here and here. Since the king cannot oppose the black king, you have to understand that you have to go blocking the pathway of the black's pass pawn. Let's say push pawn here. One of the principle once again, I've already have this kind of lesson. If the black king or the opposing king is at the back of this pass pawn, you don't leave these two squares. The moment the black kings or the opposing king land right beside the pawn, that is the only time you're gonna go and oppose. If here, here. So let's continue here. If the king goes here, oppose because this is a stalemate and a draw.